Hey guys, this is Elder Scroll, and today I'm going to be sharing my Nightblade bomber build with you before mid-year mayhem so that you can get bombs like this and have stats like this so that you can have as much fun as possible this mid-year mayhem, which starts July 25th. And this is my longest and best video I've made so far. I don't like to do this, but please watch the gameplay at the end. I worked really hard to make the bomb montage that I have at the end, and I have a ton of gameplay for this build, so make sure you watch some of the gameplay, and now I'll show you guys the build. So I am using tri-stat food. This is craftable. You can use crowned ones, or the optimal food is the Orzago's bear haunch. And then I'm using Alliance spell draw. You can use invisibility, immobility, or heroism potions, which will be better. I just like these because since the Nightblade gets 20 ultimate when you drink a potion, I just like spam those. Now I'm going to show the gear. So I'm using the Master's Perfected Battle Axe with weapon spell damage enchant and sharpened. This just makes cleave deal a ton of damage based on the amount of players, and it gives some extra pen. I'm using the axe, and I'm not using the mace because I don't want to go over pen. And then I'm using dark convergence. I'm using an ice staff. You can use a resto staff. I think ice staff just gives you more ultimate. I have decisive. If you do a resto staff, you will have better magic recovery though. What this does is when you place an AoE, it pulls enemies in and explodes them, dealing more damage based on the amount of players in there. So this hits insanely heavy. So I'm using caltrops to proc it, and then it has a little explosion. It's like a black hole kind of. And then I'm using balourge. What this does is when you use an ultimate, you get 23 pen and weapon spell damage per ultimate that you used, and that lasts for 12 seconds. That's really good. And I'm using the soul tether ultimate to proc this. And then I'm using Vicious Death. You want to have everything in Divines with magic enchantment, and what Vicious Death does is it makes players explode in a 5-meter radius when you kill them. So if you get one kill, then everyone else blows up with them. And it bases off weapon spell damage, so after balourge, this will be hitting easily over 20k. And then balourge, dark convergence, Vicious Death. So you want everything divines. I have one piece of in pen, but that's just because I didn't have transmutes. And then dark convergence jewelry. So you want all this. And then in the skills, I'm using Soul Harvest as the backbar ultimate. This is because it gives 10 ultimate per enemy kill. So you can get a ton of ultimate from just like killing stuff. And then I'm using Shadow Disguise. This makes you invisible for 3 seconds. And it gives major savagery and prophecy, giving crit chance. And it also procs vampire passives that give weapon spell damage. Then I'm using Concealed Weapon, which gives you 15% movement speed while you're invisible. And it can also deal 10% more damage when you're coming out of invisibility. And then Channeled Acceleration. So this gives 10% crit damage, but the big thing is that it gives you 30% movement speed. So you can be hiding, you can be like behind something, so you can activate proximity detonation, and then you're able to cover a large distance with that major expedition to get in the position to deal the bomb. So you can see I just traveled pretty far doing that, and that's really powerful, and I think it's an absolute must-have when you're bombing. And like I said, it gives you 10% crit damage, so that's going to be a bunch more damage that you deal. And then I'm using Proximity Detonation, which deals 1,627 damage, increasing by 100% per enemy hit by it, including the original target. And then Razor Caltrops, this is what I'm using to proc Dark Convergence. And it also reduces their resistance by almost 6,000. So that's why the thumbnail said the build has a lot more pen than you maybe saw in the stats, is because of this skill. So you're going to easily have enough pen, and that's also why I'm not using a mace. Plus it reduces their movement speed, and it costs stamina. So if you're low on magic, then you'll be fine. And on the front bar, this is the ultimate. It deals 12k damage, and then it heals you and deals damage over time. So this is the ultimate that we use right when we go into our bomb, and that procs balourge, which gives us better stats. And it's just a really high damage ultimate. And then forward momentum, you can use the other morph for this, which gives you a heal, but this gives you snare and immobilization immunity, and increases your weapon spell damage by 20%, increases your stamina recovery by 15%. And that gives a bunch of damage. And then Shrewd Offering, I don't really like this heal because it can heal another target instead of you. And it also deals damage, and if you're a stage 4 vampire, then you can never be at full health. But it's the best the Nightblade has. And then Merciless Resolve, this gives you 60. This can give you a maximum of 300 weapon spell damage just for being slotted when you do light attacks. But then it also gives you a spectral arrow, so you can basically gank people if you want. If you just drop your ultimate and then use the spectral arrow, and you can gank. So I guess that's cool. But the main thing is the weapon spell damage. And then Brawler, this is what the Titanic cleave uses, and this will deal a bunch of damage and give a huge damage shield, increasing by 300%. And then I'm using Mirage. This gives 3000 recovery, and it gives it reduces damage taken from area of effect attacks by 20%, and it reduces roll dodge costs. So this is just like a great skill to have, and it also gives just over 400 crit chance just for being slotted due to Nightblade passives. And you're getting that minor resolve from that skill, and then you also get another 6000 resistance from going invisible. So then in total, when you go into a bomb, you have an additional 9000 resistance on top of base resistance. So that's gonna be pretty good. It makes you generally tanky, like not like tanky, but tanky, I guess. And then you want all Nightblade passives, all two-handed passives, except for maybe follow-up. You don't need that one. And then you want all the destruction staff passives. Yeah, you definitely want all the destruction staff passives. And you want all the light armor, all the medium armor passives, because those are going to give you pen, weapon spell damage, and crit damage. And then you want all the heavy armor passives if you're using balourge and heavy, which I am. But if you're not, then obviously don't use heavy armor passives. And then I use improved hiding in Legionman, because if you run out of magic to go invisible, then you can sneak better. And then Soul Magic, I don't know why I don't have this skill on right now, but Soul Shatter I think is important because it deals damage when you go below 20% health, which happens a lot more often than you would think, and every little bit of damage like that is what separates the good bombers from the people who don't get bombs. So it's those little things that really make the difference. So even though it's just 2000 damage, it's worth having. And then you want all the vampire passives depending on what stage you want to be. I'm stage 3, but I sometimes play stage 4, so you pretty much just want all of them. You want all the Fighters Guild passives, all the Psijic passives, all the Undaunted passives, all the Assault, and all the Support passives. And then you want all the racial passives. I'm a high elf. I like it because it gives better magic recovery and high spell damage. The Khajiit is also a really good race choice because it will give you more damage than the high elf, but you won't have as good sustain. But it also does give fall damage resistance, which is good if you're jumping off keeps to go into your bombs. So it's kind of a preference thing. And then you want medicinal use and snake blood in the alchemy passives. And then in the provisioning passives, you want gourmand and connoisseur. And those just give better buffs from your food and potions. And then in the champion points, you want fighting finesse for crit damage, master at arms for direct damage, biting aura for AoE damage, and then backstabber for crit damage if you're flanking, which when you're hitting that many people in a bomb, it's inevitable that you're flanking somebody. You want celerity for movement speed, so you can cover more distance in a bomb. And then you want bastion. I don't see that many people use bastion, but I think it's a must-have on a bomber, because it deals more damage to damage shield enemies and increases your damage shield strength. So you can deal more damage to ball groups, essentially, with this skill. And then slippery for an automatic break free, which is really good. And then rejuvenation for some extra sustain. And then in the green section, I'm using Rationeer, Liquid Efficiency, Gifted Rider, and Steed's Blessing. You can use whatever you want, though. It's more of like a preference thing. And then, as I mentioned, I'm Vampire Stage 3, but you can also be 4 or 2, but you have to at least be 2. I'm also using the Shadow Mundus Stone. So now I'm going to show you guys the gameplay. I worked really hard on this montage, but before I do, I want to say thank you guys so much for the amount of subscribers and support I've gotten on this channel. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll always respond. And thank you if you made it this far in the video, and I'll leave you off with the gameplay. Thank you for watching.
Take these Fergusons, I feel like it's no feeling. Why they made it them the total birds, I see the ceiling. Till it's burn. Had to take a turn, said I took a crime. I'm insane, yeah. I can't with a blip, I just bought a 5. I can't fuck with none of these lanes, they will fucking lie.